Welcome back. That was very funny, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's you know, talking about the sound and the
It's like
and the
1920 all over again here.
there are a lot of studios in Hollywood, the film studios, and you go into the studio to film, and on the walls you see soundproofing glued to the walls, and many of the studios don't have it. The ones that have it were there when there was no sound. These studios, and when you see a studio like in Hollywood, there are a lot of those old studios.
Yes.
You see them, and you see the soundproofing, the thick soundproofing taped to the wall. Because when those studios were built, there were silent films only. And that's how long those studios have been there. So they couldn't reconstruct the buildings, and when they had to be soundproof, they soundproofed.
Wow. Well, and I've been here long before sound. I've been sitting here. I'm Brad Lemack in Los Angeles, by the way. Hello. Segment 2 with the wonderful Basil Hoffman, a wonderful character actor who's author of the book Acting and How to Be Good at It, and it's a real treat to have you here. Your career really has been a remarkable career journey and continues to be a remarkable career journey. Is that the result of choices, proactivity, luck? How would, because we're a long way from Houston, Texas. You were born. You went to Tulane University, but you didn't study acting.
I didn't study acting. Two girls I knew. I was an economics major, and two girls I knew talked me into trying out for a play. And the only reason I did it was because they said it was a nice social thing to do, and I'd meet girls. And anytime
Really?
you hear
And did you?
actors say that they do it to meet people,
Yeah.
that's why they do it. That is why they do it. And some people get over it. I never got over it. And as soon as I started acting, it was something I needed to do. And
Did you meet people?
I met, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I met lots of girls.
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to
it was terrific.
close the circle
Yeah.
on that.
Then I went to New York, went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts for 2 years. Then I came out and proceeded to not do well. And I got little jobs here and there, and I became an equity actor right away and got equity summer stock jobs and did little things on TV, including a little thing on The Defenders, which I'll mention more of later. And not making a living and working nights on Wall Street in a statistical job from 6 at night till 2 in the morning.
Really?
And I didn't start to make a living until I realized that I could become a failure.
How did
And after
that come to you?
Because I'd been out of school for 5 years and had never made any substantial money, and I was living on a part-time job. And I had new pictures taken. I said, I'm going to do commercials because I know that's a way into the business. And I had the pictures taken, and I sent them to every ad agency. All the ad agencies had casting directors. Almost every agent in New York would handle actors freelance for commercials, and that whole system has changed pretty much now.
It has evolved, yeah.
But I made the phone calls, and it was difficult, but I called people, and I sent pictures. And one agent, an agent named Beth Allen at the Michael Harding Agency, asked me for 75 pictures. And she got me out to every agency for everything. And I got my first commercial for her. The first year I did 5 commercials.
What was the first one?
Barney's Wash and Wear Suits.
What'd you do?
In New York. I was a chauffeur driving a Rolls Royce for a guy, a rich guy, obviously rich, the guy in the back seat. And I'm driving and he's taking his clothes off. And, and then I stop. And I reach in the back door, and I take out his suit, and I go into the laundromat, and I drop the suit into the, for wash and wear suits.
Right.
So that was my first commercial. And that year, I did 5 commercials. I did Barney's Wash and Wear Suits. I did Menon Aftershave, Palmolive Gold Soap, Whirlpool Dryers, and Dutch Master Cigars. And out of hundreds of commercials, you might wonder, how can I remember 5? Because they were the first 5. And after that, I knew how to get jobs. And I knew how to have a career. And from that exposure, from the self-esteem that I got from that, being able to have a good apartment and have money, and people would recognize me, and then I started to get plays, and then I started to get better things on TV. Then I did a movie with Sophia Loren, directed by the great Mario Monicelli. Which we did in New York at Kennedy Airport. So by the time I came to LA, I knew what to do. and I couldn't get a theatrical agent. Every commercial agent wanted me. I had my choice. But
You were
theatrical
making
agents,
money commercially.
That's right.
Right.
But theatrically, I didn't have enough in film. But I did find out that the casting directors' names and phone numbers were published every week in Hollywood Reporter and Daily Variety, so I called them. And in that first year, I met 44 casting directors. And I did, without an agent, that first year, I did some commercials, of course, I had a commercial agent. But I did a movie, At Long Last Love, for Peter Bogdanovich. I did 2 TV movies, and I did 5 TV episodes. I did a Kung Fu, Policewoman, Rockford Files, MASH, and Sanford.
I'll forgive you the Kung Fu and maybe
Yeah,
the Policewoman,
yeah.
but the others are very impressive. And so, but I mean, this is I'm being sarcastic somewhat, but the level of proactivity long before we knew what that was proved to be right. And in fact, one cannot underestimate the role confidence plays in the entire makeup of an actor and an actor's ability to go out and pursue the work like that.
Absolutely. An actor has to have great courage. And I remember All the President's Men made a great difference in my career. And when I had my second agent in L.A. was a casting director named Tom Jennings, who then became an agent. And he asked if there was anybody I needed to meet. I said, you know, Tom, I need to meet Alan Shane, or re-meet him, because I knew Alan in New York when he was casting some TV movies at NBC. I think it was at NBC. And he said, well, Basil, he said, when I was casting at Warner Brothers, Alan had the office next to me. So I'll get the meeting. So I go in to see Alan Shane, and he pulls out an index card. I mean, an old index. It looked like it had been in the rain for a week. It's an index card, and he said, Basil, you still living in New Jersey? I said, Alan, you know how long ago when I saw you in New York, I was so poor. I was living with my aunt in New Jersey, if you have a New Jersey address. And we talked for a while. He said, something's coming up that I think you're right for. And that was my meeting with Alan J. Pakula for All the President's Men. And as a result of my just mentioning to my agent that I needed to reintroduce myself to a casting director, I did All the President's Men. And that was my relationship that I had with Robert Redford after that. It resulted in my doing
Ordinary People.
But before that, The Electric Horseman with Sidney Pollack.
Right.
And when I got that picture, I didn't even know how I'd gotten it, because every actor I knew was getting an audition. I couldn't get an audition. One day I get a call from my agent. He says, Basil, Jennifer Shull at Columbia Pictures wants you to pick up a script for The Electric Horseman. I said, so finally I get a reading. He says, no, they want to make an offer.
Oh,
I said, what? He said, yeah. I said, so I picked it up, and the great role, many scenes. So they make an offer, and I get the job. And about 3 or 4 days before I'm on my way to location, I still hadn't met Sidney Pollack. And I didn't meet Sidney until I got to Las Vegas. And my agent says, you know how you got the job? I said, you must be a hell of an agent. He said, no, Redford asked for you. So
wow.
That's and then of
remarkable.
course I did Ordinary People for Redford, and I did The Milagro Beanfield War. But because of All the President's Men, I did Alan Pakula's next picture, which was Comes a Horseman. Steven Spielberg had seen a screening of All the President's Men in New York and asked for me for Close Encounters.
Right.
I did a miniseries, The Money Changers, with Kirk Douglas and Christopher Plummer, because of All the President's Men. So from then on, I seemed to be an actor in Hollywood who was doing a lot of big movies, and people decided I should be hired or I should be seen.
So that's an important role of confidence. Also the role that perception plays out there, the perception of the actor.
Absolutely. And an actor has to be willing to assert himself. And I remember when we were doing All the President's Men, Alan put me into a scene, and if it hadn't been for my ingenuity, to take the name of your company, if it hadn't been for my ingenuity, and every actor needs to know that he has to take advantage of opportunities. I was in a scene, and Alan said, if anybody can come up with other stuff in the scene, he says, because it's too scripted. And if there are things that you can add to this that work and are truthful, let's try them. And when I did All the President's Men, because Alan was very smart, because it was history, on the walls, off the stage, but somewhere in the building, I mean off the set, but on the stage, somewhere, there was posted on the wall the Washington Post, every page of the Washington Post from the following day. Because since every day was a real day in history, if we had the Washington Post from the following day, then we knew what we were talking about that day in the Washington Post because it appeared on the pages of the paper the next day. So I found a little piece on the front page that my character, being one of the city editors, would have had to be discussing. So I said, I'm going to fight to get that on the front page. So I did, and Alan liked it, and he included it. And I got my scene, this wonderful scene.
It is a wonderful scene.
With Jack Warden and Jason Robards and Martin Balsam. It was a fabulous scene. And then because of that scene, Redford sent me a note thanking me for my work in the film while I was on the film. And then Redford wanted me to do some voice things on the telephone with him because he felt more comfortable and he thought I was such a good actor. It just worked. Whatever it was worked. And then, so I got this extra footage in a picture that won a screenplay award, an Academy Award for William Goldman, who wrote the screenplay. And then the same thing happened when I did Ordinary People. Redford wanted some stuff that wasn't in the script. And I worked out with another actor that we would improvise a little scene. Redford liked it. It was included in the film. So the stuff that I added to the film gets included in a film that wins an Academy Award for the screenwriter. Again, William Goldman won an Academy Award for Ordinary People. But what I was able to do in each case, in All the President's Men, I fought for what I needed. It wasn't acting. And this is an acting lesson, and it's what I write about in my book, that if an actor does what the character needs and tries to fulfill it in the way the character fulfills it, there's no acting involved. So I did that. Then when I did Ordinary People, Alvin Sargent wrote the screenplay for Ordinary People, and he won the Academy Award. But Alvin Sargent had already written a scene, and my character was a kind of character that had a certain attitude and a certain way of dealing with money.
Stockbroker, Wall Street guy.
Yeah, exactly. So the scene that I came up with was an extension of that character that Alvin Sargent had already written. So this was included, but I didn't have to act. I had to find out, how is this guy going to function in a cocktail party? And that was how he functioned. He functioned at a cocktail party in exactly the same way that he functioned when he was jogging with his neighbor, played by Donald Sutherland. And
another great scene.
And working with a great actor. Yeah. Another great actor.
Very validating, really, isn't it?
It is very validating to know, and an actor has to know this, that when he's hired to do a job, then he must be on a par with the other people he's working with. And an actor cannot be in awe of the other actors. He also can't be in awe of his character, but he can't be in awe of the other players. He must know that he is on that level, that that's where he belongs. And everybody in the movie, everybody in the play, wherever they are in the industry, was at one time a beginner. And at one time, they had to have that first experience with a big star. And they had to get themselves up to that level. Because the star in the scene wants them to be on that level and wants them to be good, because the star wants that scene to be as good as it can be. And my experience with big stars is that the bigger they are, the more generous they are, and the better they are to work with, and the more encouraging they are.
Well, they remember when, wasn't so long ago, they were in the position of the new arrival.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, isn't that gracious and the right thing to do? And thank God that they do it.
Absolutely.
Really.
Yeah. I do thank God for that.
And of course, we didn't talk. I lied. I'm sorry. I thought we were going to talk about Principal Dingleman and Square Peg. So we had a next segment. Because this is very critical, and of course, it all applies to work in television. And of course, Square Pegs just came out on DVD, so we have a lot to talk about. Basil Hoffman is here, and we are inside the business of acting today with him and with you, and I thank you for being here. Brad Lemack, here in Los Angeles. We're going to come back for segment 3, and you'll be here because I can't talk about Principal Dingleman on my own. Well, I could, but
I'm chained to the table.
Right.
Besides that.
Right. The methods we use here. We'll be back. Stay with us. That was good.